nothing about you feels like obsessed with my job. Everything about you feels like snake oil salesman. Stephanie White talked to Renee Montgomery because that's all this organization does. They like talking to people, platforming people, going on platforms of people who just trash this fan base, who just trash this team. That's what this Indiana Fever franchise does best. So she goes on, she talks to Renee Montgomery. They not like us. They not like us. And she says, oh, well, teams are expecting the pick and roll. We got to change. We can't do the same thing over and over again. I mean, y'all have only done 13 games together last year, so you don't really establish anything. And then we have Stephanie White's introductory press conference. Oh, Stockton and Malone, the pick and roll game. Oh, we have the two best. Let's get right into it, shall we? I can't take this lady anymore. She's past Christy Sides territory. She's in a world of her own.
Stephanie White is under heavy scrutiny right now as questions continue to build around the coaching narrative that has been circulating since the start of the season. What once looked like a simple internal storyline is now being re-examined in public as fans revisit past interviews, decisions, and game footage to understand whether the explanations given about managing Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston truly align with what has unfolded on the court. This isn't just casual debate anymore. Supporters have started lining up quotes against actual rotations and in-game choices, and the contrast many are pointing out has sparked serious discussion. The more people dig into past press conferences and post-game remarks, the more attention is being drawn to the gap between messaging and execution. With two of the most important names on the roster under constant spotlight, every statement about development, usage, and protection gets amplified and analyzed in detail. As a result, nothing stays buried for long. Clips resurface, quotes get rechecked, and decisions are measured against results in real time. And in that environment, the fan base that has been closely following every move since draft day is paying attention to every inconsistency, turning what started as routine coaching talk into a much bigger conversation about accountability and alignment within the organization. What Stephanie White said in a recent moment has sparked a wave of discussion online, especially when fans compare her comments with what has actually unfolded on the floor, and the reaction is only growing as more context gets added to the conversation. For many viewers, this isn't being seen as an isolated quote or a simple tactical preference, but rather part of a longer-running debate about how the Indiana Fever are shaping their offensive identity and how key players like Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston are being used within that system. Supporters have been revisiting clips, breaking down rotations, and lining up statements against in-game decisions, which has fueled a wider narrative that something in the messaging and execution doesn't fully align in the eyes of the fan base. The most talked about part of White's comments centers around the idea of adjusting or moving away from certain high-impact two-player actions that have previously created major advantages, which fans have interpreted in very different ways depending on their perspective. Some see it as strategic adaptation based on league scouting and defensive adjustments, while others believe it raises questions about whether the team is maximizing its most effective combinations. Either way, the reaction has been immediate and intense, with social media amplifying every angle, every quote, and every breakdown, turning it into a much larger discussion about coaching direction, offensive philosophy, and how the Fever plan to evolve moving forward.
Prepared for it, so we aren't going to run it when it was clear as day that no team has an answer for the ABCC two-man game.
To that point, I've watched a lot of Aliyah Boston and Unrivaled even coming into this, and she is such a powerhouse that I think, I know she's going to be happy to have Caitlin back because that was one of the high targets in the league of that two-man game. So what does that look like now? Even Raven moving Caitlin off the ball, having a two-man game with Aliyah Boston, you have a lot of weapons, and people sometimes don't realize that's when the coaches now, it's your job to mesh that whole thing together and make it work.
Yeah, I think creating space for C and AB to do what they do in the two-man game, you probably aren't going to see it necessarily on the first side of the floor anymore. Everybody's game plan is ready for that. I think playing through AB as a...
What the hell did you just say? What did you just say? You were probably never going to see it again?
You probably aren't going to see it necessarily on the first side of the floor anymore. Everybody's game plan is ready for that. I think playing through AB as a hub and inverting some of those actions. I mean, she showed last year that she can be a point forward, so to speak. I mean, she handled a lot of our ball handling duties with Caitlin off the floor. We want to play through her. We want those two to be able to play off of one another, but we also got to create space for Kelsey Mitchell. I mean, Kelsey Mitchell is an elite guard who can get her shot off at any time, who can get downhill, who can create matchup problems, who can create rotations to allow Aliyah and Caitlin's job to be.
Yo, can somebody send this woman a drug test, please? So, I'm actually impressed we didn't hear a lot of ums over there. This must be early morning before she got her fix in. Can somebody send this woman a drug test, please? Folks, I know we say this. She might think that Kelsey Mitchell's the best player on this team. She thinks that Aliyah Boss is the second best player on this team. Let's not get it misconstrued here. She thinks Kelsey's number 1, AB's number 2, and CC's number 3. This woman is on drugs.
The questions that naturally come up after watching this are tough ones, and they're exactly what fans are debating right now. If every team in the league is preparing specifically for your most effective actions, does that really mean you stop using them? Or does it mean you evolve them and find smarter ways to keep them alive? In basketball history, great offensive systems rarely respond to defensive scouting by completely removing their strongest weapons. They usually adjust, disguise, and layer new counters on top of what already works. That's why the bigger discussion here is less about one quote and more about philosophy. How do you maximize elite talent like Caitlin Clark while still keeping defenses honest? From a strategic standpoint, when a two-player action forces that much attention, it usually becomes a foundation to build around, not something to discard. Coaches typically respond by adding motion, variation, and off-ball movement to create confusion, using the gravity of that action to open up other scoring options across the floor. The real challenge isn't whether opponents are prepared for it. It's how creatively you can keep them guessing anyway, without giving up the advantage they've spent all week trying to stop. This is exactly why fans are now seriously questioning whether this coaching staff truly understands the value of the weapon sitting in front of them, because at this point the frustration is no longer just about disagreement or missed adjustments. It has turned into a much deeper concern about decision-making and direction. What people are seeing is being interpreted not as a simple tactical debate, but as a pattern where the team's most dangerous offensive strengths are not being fully embraced, especially when it comes to elite actions like the pick and roll involving Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston that have repeatedly shown the ability to break down even the best defenses in the league. From the fan perspective, the issue isn't that opponents are preparing for it, because that's expected at the highest level. The issue is whether responding to that preparation by reducing or stepping away from it makes sense when history shows that great offenses usually evolve their best actions instead of abandoning them. That's why this moment has created such a strong reaction online, because viewers believe they are watching a situation where the talent on the floor is clearly signaling one direction, while the coaching decisions appear to be moving in another. And that disconnect is what is fueling the growing wave of criticism, debate, and impatience across the entire fan base.
They're expecting it if they can't stop it. Exactly. She keeps playing defense against her team for the opponent. What the fuck? They would stop doing something that they couldn't stop before. Best pick and roll in the league. Is she really this stupid? She thinks she's so smart. She's an idiot. She is an idiot. Stephanie White, you've lost the plot. You can't see the forest from the trees. You're just too dumb. Seriously, it's the only way I can put it. But you're an elite ball knower. Don't worry. The shills, they'll defend you. It would be smart for Stephanie White to put Caitlin Clark off ball because she's an elite ball knower, right? Go run cover for her, please. Go put on your big girl panties and go run cover for Stephanie White. All shill media, go do that. Go do that. Not playing to your strength is a mistake, and they lost the game. That's the result. She's been lying since day one. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they do on Wednesday. Run some pick and rolls to shut us up. But it ain't gonna be consistent. She might do it just to shut us up for a little bit, but it ain't gonna be consistent. This isn't a real coach, man. This isn't a real coach. She comes in, she looks at Austin Kelly and Brianne January and say, so what are we doing today, guys? Who's taking the lead today, guys? This lady is an absolute psycho. She's a nutcase.
The questions that are becoming harder to ignore now go straight to the core of how this team is being coached and what direction it's trying to take. From an outside perspective, fans are asking how a staff can consistently see its most effective offensive actions create advantages on the floor, yet still choose to scale back from them instead of building further around them. That naturally leads to a bigger concern about results, because when certain patterns repeat over multiple games, people start looking at film and questioning whether the adjustments being made are actually aligned with winning basketball or just a fixed system being applied regardless of outcome. The center of this debate is a familiar tension in elite sports: philosophy versus personnel. On one side, coaching staffs often try to establish structure, balance, and long-term identity. On the other side, fans and analysts are watching talent and production in real time and asking whether the system is fully maximizing what's already working. That's why this situation is getting so much attention, not because of a single decision, but because of how those decisions are being interpreted in the context of repeated outcomes. Ultimately, what's driving the conversation is trust. At the highest level of basketball, success usually comes when a team's system is built around its best players in a way that adapts rather than restricts them. And right now, that balance is exactly what fans believe is under question, which is why the discussion around this coaching approach is only getting louder and more intense.